Hello, we are live. So today is November 22nd. Thanks everyone for coming to the TOC talk. Just a quick heads up. So I'm on the sick leave. I'm not sure whether I will be able to make the next session. So it's just for your information. But since we have um, a topic about CDF TOC co-chair, we can briefly discuss it there. So basically the contingency plan. Because too much overhead these days. Okay. So what we have in the agenda. So I just wanted to quickly update you on the new GitHub project for the roadmap, also working items so that we can review it, also seek updates. I got a contact with one of the project that would like to present, maybe even at the TOC meeting, and co-chair update. Any other topics we would like to discuss today? Anyone? Okay. So then we can make it quick actually, which is good for me. Okay, so first of all, CDF TOC roadmap. So I migrated the roadmap from the table we used to see to the GitHub projects 2.0. So I used the standard template. So there are a few statuses like we had in before. So near term, in progress, preview, done. Also, there is no status, which is somewhere in the backlog actually. So this is what we got. So I just moved the existing tickets, and as you can see, we don't have many of them, and some of them are actually stuck. For example, inclusive naming initiative for project onboarding. I guess we completed the most. The CDF TOC co-chair, and also there are items for the documentation. What we are definitely missing here is technical initiatives happening in the foundation. So basically, what would be my proposal for that is to encourage member projects to put the initiatives there. How it could be done? So right now we have this project on the organizational level. So projects, organization, and it means that you can actually add it to any repository, for example, to any special interest group. All TOC members should have permissions to manage this roadmap. And for example, if you're leading a special interest group and if you have an item you would like to put on the roadmap, just a second. So for example, we can take, let's say, I'm not sure where I have access. So let's say SIG events. We just need a project for GitHub issues. But what you can do is actually take any item here and you can put it on the general roadmap. For example, for SIG events, it definitely makes sense to put topics like CD events 1.0 or whatever, and they could be kept on the roadmap. If you want to do that, you can just go to any issue, and if you have edit permissions, you can add it to the project on the organization level. And it's pretty much the same for every repository. So you only need to have an access to that repository so that you can manage the issues, and then you can redirect them. So I'm not sure. So here, for example, I can add a topic to the roadmap. And it's just one click and it appears on the general roadmap. So my suggestion maybe for the next week is to encourage all SIGs to create some items from their roadmap. I know that we have several SIGs that manage roadmaps already, and others, they definitely could be doing so. Am I still online? And we basically could at least integrate it and represent it as a kind of technical roadmap for the Continuous Delivery Foundation. So I will create a ticket for CDF reference architecture. We just have it on the foundation level. I asked Fatih whether we could get access for triage of the issues on the CD Foundation. and I believe it is done, but I just haven't checked yet. Well, I actually checked, so I will put some items there. And basically, if you see anything else in the projects in the SIGs you participate in, so you should have permissions to just drop them on the board. And maybe at the next meeting, we could scrub these issues and see basically what is missing on the roadmap. So we could have a renewed version.
So I have a question there, Oleg. So what kind of issues should we then have there? And I guess what would be the reason for showing them there is that we would like to bring them up on these meetings and see what's happening in the SIGs, or
yeah, more or less. So for me, it would be rather major milestones on the technical roadmap of special interest groups and member projects. So, for example, we had Tecton graduation on the roadmap. Then we can put Spinnaker graduation. For example, we can have, let's say, security review of Arterios, or we could have CD events 1.0 release. So basically, these big milestones, we could put them on the roadmap, maybe even amend it with target quarters, etc. If someone wants to commit on that, or at least declare the intent. Personally, I'm against putting times on the roadmap, but sometimes it's useful for the end users.
So, for example, just the CD events 1.0 or 0.1 version, that's an issue that we have had in the CD events organization GitHub, and not on the SIG events repo under CD Foundation. So then it's not, I guess, possible to get it into the TOC project since it's not in the same organization.
Yeah, right now it's not possible. I actually had a meeting with GitHub PMs where we discussed the limitations for cross-organizational collaboration. So right now, if you want to put an issue on this board, there are two ways. So first off, you can create it in the SIG events. And other way, you can actually add a note just right there. So it's possible to create cards in addition to just entries. So for example, here I can add, let's say, CD events 1.0 release. So we can just put it on the board without actually creating a physical issue. So we can say that, for example, Emil is responsible for that the current status is somewhere, well, near term maybe, and then it appears on the roadmap.
Yeah.
So it's one of the ways, and you can, but yeah, you can easily convert it to the issue, and here you can basically put all the text you needed in the description. So you can just reference the issue in the external repository.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that we deprecate the ones that are interesting to show here then, I guess.
Yeah, so basically for us, it would be also a way to actually redirect people. We have the same problem in Jenkins. Well, basically every project we have is located in another organization. And right now we do not have a timeline from GitHub when they would actually provide support for multi-organization projects. But here, for example, yeah, so here we don't have a special entry for 1.0, I guess. But yeah, if it was
maybe yes, number 14 in the bottom there is something to find something for 1.0, but yeah. But
yeah, what I can do is just put CD events 0.2.0 because it makes more sense. So something like that. It's basically in progress, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned so we don't get a lot of extra administration. We need to put things here that are interesting for the rest of the group, of course. So
yeah.
All details here. But, yeah.
And if you want to create an issue, you can do that. You can convert it to the issue. You can select the repository you have access to. For example, you can just create in SIG events, and basically you can move for this draft just for roadmap purposes, if you would like to do so. If you don't do, well, you can keep it as is as well. The only limitation is that you cannot put labels on these drafts right now. So basically it stays like that, like a card. Okay. So basically, this is what I wanted to present on this topic, but yeah, I'll send a message later to the channel. So if you would like to contribute some items to the roadmap for the projects you coordinate, yeah, I think it could be helpful to do so. Yeah. So any comments, questions? I'll probably skip the status review for the roadmap for today because it looks like we're a bit behind. I mean, there is a lot of obsolete items and there is not that much happening right now. To some extent, it represents the current state because we do not have much technical initiatives going on right now. Maybe this is something we should discuss, maybe start an onboarding pipeline for some projects, maybe put other items on the agenda of the TUC, for example, maybe CD reference architecture, maybe other things. So the ones we would actually like to participate. Or maybe just abstract things like Google Summer of Code, maybe collaborate with Lori on technical things. So yeah, it's perfectly fine how we organize it. Well, it depends on the participants.
Speaking of the reference architecture piece, Terry, I wanted to get with you. This is something that is getting a lot of traction. Like either it's called reference architecture or best practices or whatever. And I wasn't sure where we were with that, or if we needed to maybe formalize something, have a kickoff call, or I'm a little out of the loop and I apologize for that. But we had some meetings at the LF Summit and, just talking kind of strategy moving forward. And there was just a big push to be able to help companies scale up. And that was something that we kind of was talked about and was mentioned.
Yeah, so the first phase is published, and we're just planning out the next phase of work. So all of that's going on within the best practices SIG.
Okay, I'll get with you offline and maybe we can see a way we can use the marketing outreach committee to kind of push that out a little bit more, whether it's just internal to the CDF or external.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so I basically added a card for that so that we don't forget. So who does currently coordinate this effort? So is it you, Terry, and Fatih?
It's mainly Terry, if I may say, because when we discussed this topic during summer or after summer, the consensus was to continue this work under best practice. So it is like under best practice.
Yeah, so it's myself and Tara.
Yeah, I'll probably add some context later. So basically things like that, and yeah, you can extend it as needed. And again, so another thing for your information, we have enabled task lists for the projects. So it is possible to actually handle editing of the things quite easily. So for example, here I have an old format and I can convert it to the task list. So full disclaimer, it is an alpha feature. So it may work or may not. Probably, yeah, I guess it's not even enabled for our repository yet. I need to check. But if it's enabled, there would be quite a fancy control center for the tasks. I will check with GitHub whether we are getting it. Okay, so please ignore it for now. Okay, so Does anyone want to do any updates on CX or sub-projects? Anyone? Okay, so I guess not. We definitely need to facilitate it a bit more and maybe just encouraging some public roadmaps and poking people to do status updates would be helpful. But yeah, maybe Yulori would like to give an. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Oleg. I think we wanted to kind of schedule project updates, right, from the different
Yes.
projects.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that, but we definitely need to.
Okay.
So we
Yeah,
had Jenkins confirmed and Jenkins X confirmed. I believe since Artelius already presented. But yeah. Maybe it's a good time to actually ask whether you would like to do a CD events update at the next call, since we released 0.1.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that.
So it's,
that will be on
December
December
6th.
the 6th, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay, and yeah, I definitely have Jenkins on the schedule to maybe agreed on that, and Jenkins X. So my idea is that we just do one project update per meeting, and yeah, I agree that we should recover that. So another quick update. I got a message from Step CI. So Step CI. Yeah, just a second. I'll share my screen. So basically, it's in. Do you see my screen?
Not
so
yet.
basically,
Oh, yes. No.
Yeah, so basically it's a relatively new project started for API testing and QA. I'm not sure. So the key idea there is to have a kind of, well, YAML definition for sequences and for verification. I believe there could be some, well, a lot of opportunities for integrations potentially. Between Step CI and member projects. Well, I guess so. If there is integrations, I believe we can already trigger CLI if needed from all of the projects. So maybe somebody would be willing to create direct integrations. But yeah, while I'm mentioning that, I just got a contact from them, and I invited to present them at one of the CX or at the CDF TOC at some point. So the question is, what would be the best fit? So whether it could be best practices or interoperability seek if you talk about integrations with existing tools. What would be your opinion?
Possibly interoperability.
Yeah, it was my first guess too, because, for example, when we were doing key 6 presentations, we were using interoperability seek for this discussion. And yeah, if they're interested to come and present, for example, maybe at CDF webinar, we could just pass the contact to the ambassadors. So we could probably organize a webinar with them, and if they want to demonstrate some integrations in public, or if they want to discuss technical things, I guess interoperability seek would be the best contact to.
SIG would be first, maybe a good place for presentation.
Yeah, I think it would be a good place to get initial feedback. Well, we have seen many of such tools, which are basically CLIs, should they provide common output, for example, XUnit, XML, or something like that? They could be easily integrated with tools so that can parse it, for example, well, just Jenkins or whatever other things like TestRail. For other projects, I believe it's a bit more complicated, but well, basically every project can process the CLI invocation status and get retrieve a result based on that. Okay. So any other updates anyone would like to share? Maybe Laurie, you would like to share something from the outreach meeting?
We have our first outreach meeting next month on the 14th. So all of the projects have been invited for a representative. All of the companies that are part of the CDF have been invited. I think we have like 43 outstanding invites, and we'll see how it goes. But basically, we're just going to go over a high-level overview of kind of the end-of-year roadmap and then 2023, which will talk about how we want to increase brand awareness, participation with the ambassadors, and then kind of segment off into different things like people that want to focus on CDCon, which will be in, I think, May, and things like that. So it's sort of just a wrap up of the year and then a highlighting of things that are going to happen in 2023 to get people excited. The main goal is to get a better communication between the projects and the foundation so that we can use everything at our disposal to make sure we're marketing the projects appropriately. And, you know, if we're speaking at events and things like that, that everybody has the tools they need to ping back the CDF. So that's kind of where we're at. Y'all are welcome to come. Just let me know if you want an invite.
Thank you. Would appreciate an invite. I'm not sure I will be able to join. Okay, so the last topic on the agenda is CDF TOC co-chairs framework. So I guess last point where we stopped is that we have an idea how we would update the charter for the TOC, but not for the downstream changes, like, for example, CDF governance charter. So maybe Fatih could provide a brief update on this topic.
We are still waiting LF Legal to come back with updated charter. We filed an issue with them, not like the updated version or proposed version. So as soon as we get some response, I will make sure to TOC.
Yeah. Do you have any precedent of foundations operating in such way? With co-chairs of something?
I think that there are like they take different approach. One of them start with chair, single chair, and then I think and co-chair, vice chair or deputy chair, and then they adopted equal co-chairs. What you are looking like LFN projects or under them, they have such approach. But for us, the reason to have this discussion is to have with working with TOC to make sure that TOC can regularly and such things. And based on the latest comment on Andrea, the way we asked legal have chair plus co-chair or deputy chair included in the charter. And see, I think we have this practice within our SIGs. I believe SIG interoperability has chair and co-chair, and SIG events has two equal co-chairs. Mistaken. So it depends on type of the group, committee, and community.
Yeah. So from my point of view, well, firstly, for our internal operations like CDF TOC meetings or engagement, I cordially believe that every TOC member and a contributor, they're just TOC chairs on their own. There is no need to create any additional obstacles for contributing and for taking leadership in initiatives if you have time and if you have interest for that. So for that, personally, well, I do not have any concern about just saying that everyone has the same permissions, period. But yeah, the representation to the governing board, etc., is a bit more complicated. I mean, well, even for me, it took something like 6 months to get access to the governing board after I became a TUC chair. So yeah, hopefully we would.
I know, like that is exactly why I'm on board with having 2 people.
Yeah.
I don't care what the title is. Frankly, I look at this additional chairperson as a on-the-job training, just get your feet wet, because I guarantee you there is no end of stuff that you had to go through and learn and figure out. And I hope that this could also serve as a transitional period. You know, you know, of course, having interest, that's great, but there's also, you know, there's some, you know, on the job training that has to happen. And if we can document this, possibly make this or suggest to this incoming person that, you know, one of the responsibilities is to document the transition. This serves us really well. That's how I'm looking at it. I just, you know, the issues about deadlocks and all that. Okay, great. But I just want it operating smoothly. That's all I want. You know, imagine that, a bunch of DevOps people wanting smooth operations. Weird, strange.
So in my case right now, I'm definitely not the best person to guarantee my 100% availability based on well, some personal stuff going on, etc. But yeah, so I try to participate where possible. At the same time, well, I have no problem if you have all 7 2C chairs participating in the governing meeting, but obviously it's going to create the big issue, for example, for the governing model. And well, for the rest, I don't care too much. Just everything is public, open governance, and that's it. So yeah, basically this is, I guess, all we have at the moment. Again, so one reminder, so we will be moving out of BEVE. I still think, yeah, so I suggest that we do a next meeting without BEVE already, just to see.
Well, if you insist.
Yeah, I know that you have a lot of struggle with this proposal.
I hold a grudge. It held me up for 2 meetings. I'm a small person. I admit that.
Okay. So basically what I'm going to organize, so for the next meeting, there will be a Zoom call. I will try to get credentials. I have no idea whether my old credentials for Zoom still work for meetings. And I will also cross-post that meeting on the CDF Online webinar. So since we will start from CDF Events project update, I think that we could just call it Open CDF TOC Meeting. And I think that it should be fine. Maybe we'll get a few people. So next meeting, basically Zoom plus meetup.com. Fine with everyone? Okay. Then I guess that's it from my side. Anyone going to DevRelCon in Prague in 2 weeks? I guess no. So I might go there, but I'm still not 100% sure. Okay. So then, thanks everyone. Any other topics we would like to discuss today? Then, okay, then thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Again,
Take care, Oleg.
everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.